Thank you everyone for coming. We're gonna give people 1 more minute to come in and then we will get started. We have one item on the agenda this evening, and this is the project at 5122 Cathedral Avenue. This is an ANC3D special meeting that we are calling, and this was what we will be discussing tonight. Okay, to keep my streak of starting meetings on time, this meeting has officially started. I think we have an established quorum here. We have 6 out of our 7 commissioners. We have called a special meeting in accordance with our bylaws and statutes and given notice within 3 days. In this case, it was more than 3 days to discuss this project at 5122 Cathedral Avenue. Brad, can you move to the next slide, please? The motion on the floor this evening is to send a letter to the acting zoning administrator asking that the zoning administrator immediately rescind the determination letter and revoke the pending construction permit number B2303238. For the DOB, the Department of Buildings, to provide the ANC with a certified site survey of the existing conditions. For the Department of Buildings to conduct an on-site review to verify whether information submitted is complete and accurate, and to meet with ANC3D representatives to discuss these issues in advance. Do I have a second?
Jeremy Joseph, I'll second that. Thank you.
Commissioner Joseph, thank you. This is the format of what we're going to do. I am going to go through our issues here with a PowerPoint presentation. It should take maybe 8 to 10 minutes. And then we are going to open this up for further questions and discussions from the commissioners. And then there will be a time for the public to also comment. Okay, next slide, please. This is an overview of the project presented by the developer, Silverstone Group, on Instagram. This post that he has here has since been taken down, but I think it's important we hear the language he uses about this project.
Here at 5122 Cathedral Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C.'s Kent neighborhood, we have an existing 916 square foot single family home that we're going to tear down completely and build a 8,000 square foot brand new single family home. The plan is to have 4 levels, 7 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms, a heated garage, rooftop deck, an elevator, gym, spa, media room, and all-pair suite, amongst other features. So we're just about getting started today. We're doing pre-development work, taking some tree samples, soil samples, and we're planning to get started here in about 6 to 8 weeks. Stay tuned. Here.
So as I mentioned, he has taken that post down, but I think the important language here is that he calls this a complete tear down, and then he's going to do a rebuild. We can move to the next slide. These are before and after pictures of the front of the house. The picture on the right is an architectural rendering from the building. And the picture on the left is the existing conditions. And this is going to come up later, but I'd like people to note that the front porch, there is a front porch on the existing home there. Next slide. This is a before and after of the rear of the house. On these photos, I'd like people to note the elevation change from the first floor to the basement. The elevation changes come up on this site, and I'm trying to get my annotation thing to work. You can see the elevation change from the front to the back going here, and you can see much of the basement on this is exposed. So the property really slants down towards the back of the property. Next slide. This is important background of where the project stands today. The Office of the Zoning Administrator issued what is known as a zoning determination letter on October 11th, 2022. In this letter, the zoning administrator lays out what he approves for this project, and they approved this project as an addition. and not a raise. A raise is when there's a complete tear down. And this classification of an addition or a renovation eliminates public comment and no notice to the ANC. It also grandfathers in setback violations to current code if the setbacks exist on the current house, which is the case on one side of the house on this property. Raised permits, on the other hand, require notice to the ANC, and all the new structures must conform to new zoning codes, or they need to ask for a variance. Next slide. All right, this is where things get a little tricky. In order to qualify your project as an addition or renovation, you have to maintain 40% of your existing walls. And on this demolition drawing from the builder, you can see that he is retaining everything here in gray. So he's got this, the gaps here are windows. And you can see the outline of the front porch is here. So it's these walls here on the existing structure. And then he's got 3 feet over here. And when you tear down your house, as long as the walls are standing 48 inches above the ground and you maintain 40% of it, it is counted as a renovation according to zoning. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is where things get a little tricky. On the left is the existing structure the builder presented on his plans, and to the right is the proposed outline of his walls. And it's going to be hard to see here, but we lay this out in our letter. This part that he has here is actually the porch. This word here says porch. And it appears that we believe, I'm going to change my color here, that the outline of the house is actually down here because they left the underlayer of the architectural drawings. This word right here says basement. Somehow on this drawing, this building has moved over the porch. But if you look over at his drawings, it appears to us that he has shifted the building so it looks like he's using these front walls, but we're not sure if he actually is, because we don't trust this drawing. And in construction, typically a developer will submit what's called a certified site plan. Land surveyors come out, they stamp their drawings, they measure from lines, they have pre-existing condition maps, they do topographical surveys. The ANC3D has been trying to get this drawing and we have been unable to get one. The builder told me that he submitted one to the city. We have requested one by email, and I actually went down to the records office and requested 2 times in person, and we have yet to see what he's doing, because if he can't maintain those 40% of the walls, this is not an addition renovation. This is a raise project. And this is one of the things that we're asking for in our letter. Next slide, please. And because we do not know where the existing building is, we don't know if the setbacks the builder has on either side are accurate and true. And even if zoning determines that he is preserving his walls, we have major issues with the rear setback. So by zoning laws, you are required to maintain 25 feet of setback. And he is measuring his setback from this line right here, which is this line here on this building. He's calling this part here a deck. I'm going to change my color here. He's calling this portion here a deck. And that's shown right here on these drawings. And he's not calling it a building. And we are asking zoning and the Department of Buildings to classify this whole structure here as part of the lot coverage. In our neighborhood, we are RB1 zoning. You are only allowed to cover 40% of your lot. And if all of this area here is counted as building, he's closer to 60%. And that now his rear setback is only 12 feet. Another problem we have is we don't have the topographical maps that would show us what this would be. Now, according to their drawings, they have been very murky about what this dimension is. So we are asking zoning to take a hard look at that also. Next slide. Okay, we're basically done with my presentation. This is just a restatement of the ask that we're doing. So we can turn this presentation off for now. I'd like to open this up for comments from the commissioners. If anyone has any questions, please put it in the chat, and we will end up opening this up for public comment. Does anyone, any commissioners have any questions for me? Commissioner Simkowitz.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. The question I have is not a knock on any of the commissioners. It's why is this an emergency? Did we not have notice before the last one?
So
Meeting 2 weeks ago?
that is a very good question, and I should.
And the second part is why couldn't it wait till next week? So why are we here today?
We are here today because a demolition permit has been issued to this builder. And I think that he's waiting for maybe just one more site visit by the department, the DOEE for site runoff, and then he can start tearing down the house. And we are concerned that once that happens, we are never going to know if this was actually a raise or a renovation, and that ship will have sailed. We felt that it was very important, and we received notice when the neighbors reached out to Commissioner Joseph, bringing this to our attention. So that's why we're not waiting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Elkins?
Can you hear me? I'm not sure my microphone is working.
Perfectly.
Okay, so first of all, I want to commend Madam Chair, you and Commissioner Joseph in particular for the detective work that you've done over the last several days on this. Phenomenal amount of work, and you are to be commended for that. At the same time, I would say it is unfortunate that the process in this city is such that you would have to do that, and you had so much trouble getting the information. And so in a future meeting of the ANC3D, I would like to have a discussion of what we might suggest to the city to change the process. But turning back to this particular case, I wonder, Madam Chair, whether you could tell us what you have done to make sure that the builder had a chance to come tonight, and what that process has been. Because of course, as Commissioner Simkowitz said, that we are meeting on a fast pace. And so to what extent was the builder informed of this?
Thank you. I went through many hoops to get in touch with the builder, and I was able to speak with him. But I would like for the record to state that according to statute, we require 3 days notice to the public and to all parties. We noticed the neighbors and the developer and the public last week, well within the 3 days. I sent the builder an email on Thursday, another email on Saturday. I direct messaged him on Sunday evening. And on Monday, I finally drove by the site and I saw a van parked outside. So I went over and introduced myself. It was a project manager named Michael. And I sat with him for 8 or 10 minutes with a picture of the site, saying all of the issues that we had with it and encouraging Mr. Agarwal, the owner of Silverstone Group, to contact me. About 6 hours later, he contacted me. He was overseas. I do believe that he is back in the country now. I spent maybe 20 minutes on the phone with him, and he did give me his side of the story. He did tell me he was not showing up to this meeting. He complained about the notice. He also said to me many times that he is following all the rules. I asked him for a copy of the site plan. He said that he said it was on the plans. I said, I'd like to see a stamped survey copy from a certified land surveyor. And he said that he would send me the two-dimensional drawing, which he did not do. And then I asked him for the topographical survey that would show us the grade of the site. And he said that I would need to sign a non-disclosure agreement to get that. And I said, that's not a thing in development when you submit these records to a government agency. And then he suggested I get them from the city. He is also concerned that this is retribution, us investigating his project for a project that he did in the neighborhood. And I assured him that the issues that we have with this particular project are with his building design, his lot coverage, his setbacks, and the fact that we believe that this is a raise and not a renovation. I do believe that even if we send this letter to zoning, he will still have an opportunity to be heard, because zoning is going, and the Department of Buildings are going to be dealing directly with the developer. So while I'm sorry he's not here today to speak, I do believe that he will be heard in the process of this matter.
And just to add to that, as I understand it, what we are considering to vote on tonight is essentially to refer this matter to the responsible agencies for them to make a determination. We do not claim to be experts in zoning. We have some very strong suspicions, as you have outlined, but obviously this needs to be determined by a district agency. So he will have his opportunity to present his case as well. So I'm sorry he's not here tonight, but this is not foreclosing him from presenting his view of the case. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Do any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Colon Roosevelt.
So I just want to get like the sequence of events right. You couldn't find the topographical map or the site survey. Those should be held by the Department of Buildings, right?
Yes.
And you went down there twice and asked them for it, and what did they say?
The clerk the records office itself is closed to the public because of COVID. So they have sort of a DMV style service area. So each time I went, I was helped by a different clerk. And when I gave them the address, it showed they could see in the computer that it looked like a document was there, but when they clicked on it, it was blank. And so the one clerk who helped me, she called down to an office that she thought would have it. And she said, when he sends it to me, I'll email it to you, but I never got it from them.
So there was a document there, it was just blank?
That's what they said.
Okay.
Very frustrating. Are you done?
Yeah, sure, but I mean, that seems really unbelievable. I mean,
It's
the whole
very-
point is we're supposed to be able to see them. The neighbors are supposed to see them. We can see them as ANC, and it's not there.
It's very suspicious. Commissioner Simkowitz?
Yeah, did we have a chance to look over if they're properly registered and licensed? Registered as a corporation, licensed as a BBL?
So Silverstone Group is licensed. They have a BBL. They list a number of engineers and architects in there. The structural engineer was also listed. Their architect and the architecture group is called Two Plies. They also certified the electrical and plumbing and mechanical drawings. I was unable to find them in the BBL, the Corp online database in DC as being registered. And I flagged that for the Department of Buildings today to verify that, because their name starts with a 2. I wasn't 100% sure that the search engine was working properly. So they're looking into that.
Thank you.
Haven't they also been on that street on Cathedral?
Ma'am, just so we're clear, the commissioners are going to be the first ones to have a conversation. We're going to open it up to the public here in a minute. We're going to ask people to raise their hand. or you're welcome to put questions in the chat. Sorry about that. Do any of the commissioners have any more questions or anything they want to add? Okay, Elaine, I'm going to call on you first because you just had something to say. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I
And-
knew the owner of the, can you hear me?
Yes, and before you get started,
But that has nothing to do with it. It
Can I-
has to
can I-
do with regulations. It has to do with what I think is what you're supposed to do when you have a property. And so, and that is the thing that disturbs me the most, is that, first of all, it was left unoccupied for a long time. And of course, I knew the previous owner and I was wondering, well, what's going on with that? And there was a
Miss
empty.
Miss
And
Bowles-
then recently, because what they had done was doing electrical work, which that really is suspicious, without having the proper
permit.
permit.
Can
Thank
I ask you,
Okay.
can I ask you a couple of questions? Are you referring to this project at 5122 Cathedral, or are you talking about another project?
We're talking about, yeah, Barbara's house.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah,
they did have a stop work order.
Right.
Because they had done some temporary electrical work, but they pulled their permit the next day and it was all sorted out. When these properties get handed over to a developer, they tend to sit for a very long time because the permitting process is very laborious.
I get that. But I also get the fact that everybody doesn't notice it. And so that's the reason I'm sitting here, Tricia, is because what else is happening? You know, is the developer, I'm good with developers, no problem. You know, that's the way things happen. But is the developer hiring people that are making sure like the runoff at that house is okay? Are they making sure that everything is good? I'm not feeling confident about that.
Okay, so
And-
the city has regulations, and before they can start tearing down that property, they'll have the DOEE, the Department of Environmental and Energy. They will make them do the silt. If you ever go by a house that's under construction, you'll see the big notice. If you're having problems with runoff from the site, please contact us right away.
Well, if
They
that's the case, why are we here? If all those agencies are doing all that checking, then why are we here?
Because we think they may have made a mistake with the building design. We have not even discussed the stormwater runoff because. they
Oh,
have-
so the issue really is that they promised that they were going to just use the old front, and then, in fact, what they're really doing is building this huge house that's going to look over either side. That's why we're here.
We want the zoning administrator to make sure that they are following the zoning regulations. We believe that this house should be classified as a raise versus renovation, but the ANC can't do that. We are asking zoning to really look at these plans and answer our questions with these gaps that we see in what this developer has submitted to zoning. So.
All right, so here's what I can tell you.
Most
This
of our,
is that, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is the person who sold it, the person who died, and you can't do things from the grave. Expected that the agent was going to keep the front, and they were not going to raise it into that big thing that you're talking about, Tricia. But how is that legal? I don't know.
as much as people have property rights, that house was sold. We are not in a historic district. And we just want to make sure that this house is built in within the zoning regulations. And right now we have no confidence that it is. Any,
I don't
anything
think
that-
that's the issue. I think the issue is that they're trying to build something that they really can't. If you looked at the property, what's happening with the property and with the water and stuff, they shouldn't be building that kind of high rise building. It's going to cause so much damage in the unit, the property behind them. So if you're going after like saying, well, okay, they can't build like another high rise. Well, yeah, I get that. But the real issue is that land cannot support that kind of build.
So I'm going to move on for other comments, but thank you for those comments. But one of our concerns is the lot coverage. You're allowed to build on 40% of your property. The DOEE tells the developers about drainage and how it affects the
Hello?
neighborhood, that
Hello?
sort of stuff. Does
Excuse me, Trisha.
very
I think we have some bombers. We have some bombers.
I mean, you is in the booty though. I
Hey,
will fight booty. Fight booty,
we're
right?
gonna have to mute everybody, Brad.
Oh shit, fart on my roommate's door.
And we're gonna have to shut down the chat. Sorry. Give us a second here, people. There's no chat.
Okay, I apologize about that.
No, it's okay. We had it open because I didn't think that many people would come to the meeting, but apparently I was wrong. Sorry about that. Are there any neighbors who would like to speak about this for the record?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is this?
Hi.
Could you introduce
So,
yourself?
yes, this is Rohit Kumar. We are one of the neighbors for at 5122 Cathedral. We are the neighbors to the south. So we are the ones that would experience off when it happens and have experienced it repeatedly over the years. And so I appreciate the ANC3D pulling together this meeting and taking a harder look at this project. We as neighbors got neighbor notifications. Were perturbed by the representation of the deck as a deck when in fact it looks like it's just a roof of a structure, and that structure would violate the rear setback. The expansion of the lot coverage would only exacerbate the stormwater runoff issues that we are already experiencing. And so we share the concerns that are expressed in the letter and thank the ANC for taking a harder look at this project, because it does look like, and I think Commissioner Elkins kind of raised this as a separate matter, it seems like the whole system kind of relies on accurate representations by the developers. And if they're inaccurate, unless somebody is paying extraordinary close attention to what's going on, as we happen to be in this case, but that's just, by dumb luck more than anything else, that, these things just happen. And then only afterwards do you realize, oh, wait, this is a problem. It's 60% lot coverage. The setbacks are all wrong. Right? Somebody buys the house, it's not their fault that the developer did it wrong, and you're sort of, at that point you're kind of stuck. So we appreciate the ANC3D taking this issue as seriously as we are as neighbors.
I just want to say it is my understanding that the Department of Buildings does take at face value the information that they are given, and we are just asking them to verify essentially in this letter. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. Up next is Mr. Balsarak.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan. Regarding the potential inaccuracies or suspected inaccuracies in information filed by the developer with the Department of Buildings. Oh, sorry, I live at 5422 Hawthorne Place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Same neighborhood. I can just offer my experience with Silverstone building developing a property on my street. They appeared to have submitted a survey that inaccurately, at least at first blush, represented how far the other houses on the street were set back from the property line. I sent an email to Two Plies, their architect, expressing concern about this. It's the survey they had submitted to the city purported to show the setbacks of the houses on the street, showing my house and our neighbor's house as respectively 1 foot 6 inches and 7 inches from the lot lines. In fact, they were 10 inches or 10 feet 9 inches and 8 feet 5 inches from the front lot line. And that's the porches. In fact, the front walls of the houses were, or at least of my house, was 16 feet 8 inches back from the front lot line. Whereas the property, the new house that Silverstone built on the street was less than that. It was 7 feet 5 inches from the lot line.
So I just want to, I am familiar with the setback from that house there, and I would like to just note your comments for the record that you thought that maybe something was misrepresented, but I do need to make it clear that the front setback, what he is proposing and what is existing there is not in dispute with this particular project.
Sure.
But the
Yeah, and
setback, I think it is noted that you think that there were some misrepresentations there. Commissioner Joseph, do you want to add something? We might.
Thank you. I couldn't unmute. What I think is interesting about Mr. Balzar's comment is he said it was by Two Plies, the same architectural firm that you'd mentioned, and the fact that there was simply, I think his point is simply there just was a concern. He had a concern that there was perhaps inaccurate information. Mr. Balzar, did you ever do your own survey to verify this, or was this just what you sort of saw based on living on the street and your own measurements? Oh.
I got you. Actually,
here I go.
Thanks, Brad.
It was just based on my own measurements. Like I said, I emailed the developer and I emailed the architect, copied the developer saying this appears to be a discrepancy. I'd hope you'd correct it with the city, and I never heard back.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on. And we are going to call on Bill Gallagher. We're being super tight with our settings here, so give us a second so we don't get
unmuted.
Looks like you're still muted.
Still tell me when.
You are
unmuted. Okay. So we're the property owners, my wife Ann and I, to the east side of this. I think one of the other pieces, I appreciate your really thorough layout of what was going on. The wall that's to our side is actually going to be buried at least 2 feet into a setback wall that appears to go closer to 6 feet off of our setback. It basically goes about a foot out of the ground and then cantilevers out about 2 feet. So that whole wall is actually more like 6 feet off the side. The other, I would ask that the front appears to go significantly forward of all the rest of the houses along our section of the street. And I would ask that if we could just make sure that is resurveyed and redouble checked, and that we're not sort of going on the word of what may not be good, accurate double checking that's already happened. We'd appreciate that.
Okay. We will, I think once we get into all of the setbacks and where the existing building is, I do want everyone to know that in the current zoning, what Mr. Gallagher is describing here is what a pop out on that one side. It is huge. It is most of the side elevation there, but it is considered a bay window. And it can be multiple stories high. And he's got his windows in there, and I do think that that is following the zoning regulations as I've been told. But it is going to be much closer to your property than the 8-foot setback. But it won't be on, you know, the ground floor. But we would like to verify that setback with a survey, which we do not have. And I really appreciate your comments. And yeah, hopefully you could get some good neighbors. All right, next up is Commissioner Simkowitz.
Yeah, how far is that pop out? Is it like 1 foot or 3 feet?
I think it's 3 feet.
3 feet?
It's like cantilevered over.
Yeah.
We could pull up the drawing again if people really wanted to see it. But
My memory, if I may interject, I think it's about 18 inches.
Excuse me?
I think it's about 18 inches. My memory is it appears to make the side setback just 6.5 feet from the Gallagher's property line. And that is noted in our letter, I'll just add.
Perfect, thank you.
okay, it looks more to me, but yeah, thank you. Okay, up next is Catherine Fleming.
Hello,
Yes,
my name is
sir.
Keith. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are going to give us a second. We're going to spotlight you. There you are, and you're unmuted.
Great, thanks. I'm Keith Fleming. This is my wife, Catherine. We live at 5126, directly on the west side of the proposed development.
Okay.
I would also like to thank the commission for being so responsive, particularly Commissioner Joseph and Duncan for doing all the research. I know it took a lot of work. Your letter is extremely thorough, so thank you for doing that. I don't think I have too much to add other than our main concern is the non-conforming west side setback, which is, you know, feet. But my understanding is with this development, that will be able to be maintained, and the scope of that will be, you know, massive. I think it goes 40 feet back plus significantly up, and our concern is that's just going to render our modest house just in the shadow of a monstrosity. And I think, I guess there's a question in there. I think that is correct, and if this is allowed to be an addition, I think that non-conforming setback is allowed to be maintained, which is, I think, part of the, you know, financial incentive for the developer to classify this as an addition.
Okay, so are you, do you know, are you on the east side or the west side?
We're on the west side. The other
Okay,
side.
you're on the west side. So
we're
one
on
of
the side where the wall is going to be maintained.
yes, so we want to actually verify that existing setback.
Okay.
If they determine that this is a raise, that wall will actually have to be moved to 8 feet off the property line.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of unknown of what's going to be there, but I would like everybody here to know that large homes in our neighborhood are in vogue. And if they meet the zoning code, they can change your garden from a sun garden to a shade garden. And the best thing we can hope for is wonderful neighbors, which often happens. But we do want these buildings to maintain our 40% lot coverage. We'd like them to be built within the rules, and that is what we are doing. So thank you for coming to this meeting and speaking. One thing that we are going to ask everybody, if you would like to speak, we would like for you to put your camera on before you're recognized. So Jennifer Kensington, you're up, but we would like for you to put your camera on, please. Jennifer Kensington?
Hello, my camera.
Okay, we are going to remove, I think, Jennifer Kensington from the meeting.
Madam Chair, may I move to call the question if no other members of the public want to speak?
We do a vote to call the question. Are we ready to vote? Okay, we're gonna call the question. All those in favor of sending this letter to the zoning administrator, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. The motion has passed.
Madam Chairman, there's some other motions, I think, on our website that I think we should consider that are supplemental to this letter, supportive of this letter. I wonder whether we could ask Brad to bring those up.
I would just like to add that Brad is doing an excellent job. It is not easy. We have a lot of people in this meeting who are here to disrupt our meeting. Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Elkins?
Yes, I would. I would like to move that, and I'm going to read it just in case everybody is short. Be it resolved that ANC3D authorizes the chair of ANC3D as appropriate to take action on behalf of ANC3D to resolve questions of fact, regulation, and law related to zoning and construction matters at 5122 Cathedral Avenue Northwest. That is the site. To engage a lawyer for legal advice regarding zoning and construction matters at the site. To appeal the permits or agency determinations related to zoning and construction matters at the site. And to pay the costs of the legal advice and other costs associated with such appeals or other proceedings, inquiries, advocacy related to zoning and construction matters at the site. I have one other resolution that is supportive of this, but I think, Madam Chairman, I would ask that, I would move that we consider this one first, if there's a second.
I'll second that. This is Jeremy Joseph. Commissioner Duncan,
Tricia,
you're on mute.
I would like to add, I think this is a terrific idea. Is there any comments from any commissioners?
The question I have, this would benefit us in future cases as well, not just this one. Is that correct, Commissioner Elkins?
I think we would learn a lot from this so that, yes, this would benefit us in other construction cases, yes. But the resolution in terms of how we spend money now is focused on this particular site.
Correct, but your contention is we could benefit, even without this. Am I correct?
Say again?
This will be useful because this issue could come up again. We could benefit in this.
Right. That's right. So some of the same issues being raised here are ones that I've seen in previous matters that have come before this ANC, and I think will probably come before this one again.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. It has passed.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to now bring the second motion.
Excellent.
I had a discussion with Mr. Bays, who is the director of the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions today on other matters. He was familiar with this case because of contacts by some of you. We were talking about how funds may well be available to ANCs to help them on issues where they need some expert advice. And I think this is a case where we do not have the expertise ourselves in our own commission. We need help from the outside. And this is a case where we may well be able to get this funded by the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions. And I believe that they would be able to act quickly in approving this request. I would be glad to work with other commissioners to actually fill out the form that needs to be filled out and get it submitted tomorrow, if in fact this resolution were to be passed. I see this, just to be clear though, that we just passed a resolution that authorized the chair to engage legal counsel. if needed. This resolution has one way of, in fact, funding that. But if we do not get the funding, that does not contradict the previous resolution, in my view, that the chair is authorized to spend ANC3D resources to engage the council. This is simply a matter of asking OANC to help us in this particular case to get the kind of expertise we really need through this expert fund. So I move that we go with this motion and hope that there's a second.
Second by Commissioner Simkowitz. I think this is a terrific idea. Are there any comments?
Former Commissioner Gates has her hand up. Chairwoman Duncan.
We're going to call on former Commissioner or Commissioner Gates. Go ahead. I'm going to, there you go.
How much do you have in your treasury today?
So our treasurer is not here, but if I recall, we have close to, we have a budget, but right now I think we've got 50,000 something. Does that sound right?
I think that when you have $50,000 in the bank, and there are some ANCs that really have nothing, it's probably not a wise idea for Ward 3 to be asking the Office of ANCs for help. You've got more than enough money and you're not really spending it on anything. So you might as well put it into an attorney the way we've done, or we used to do, and let someone else use that money.
Commissioner Elkins, did you have something to?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I respect former Commissioner Gates' view on that. However, she may not be aware of the fact that this commission just on March 1st authorized the chair to engage legal counsel in another matter. And I think we need to be careful in thinking that there's just lots of money that and we don't need to ask for help. This is a case where we were invited by the director to submit an application for consideration. And I think that we should accept his invitation.
But I would like to thank you for your advice and counsel this week when we spoke. But I think I'm going to be leaning towards Commissioner Elkins only because the Office of OANC recommended in this instance. And I think they think that this can help multiple ANCs if we get this issue sorted out with zoning.
I think that's correct. These are the kind of issues which I think can be useful to other ANCs. And one of the things that the council has really urged OANC to do is to provide both through this fund and through staffing assistance to ANCs in these kinds of zoning issues. So I think this is right on track with what the council wanted OANC to help ANCs with.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I am going to move the vote. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I think this concludes our meeting for the night, unless by chance someone in this meeting is the developer and he would like to speak. There are a number of people here that I do not know who they are. All right, motion to adjourn. Second by Simkowitz. All those in favor? The meeting has adjourned. Thank you everyone for attending this special meeting. And our administrator, Brad, nice job. That was not easy.
Thank you. Not perfect. We'll work there.
Thank you, Brad.
We'll get it.
Well done, Brad.
Thank you, Bradley.
Take care. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, good night. Thank you.